This is a playthrough demonstrating how to fight through the fighter escort before getting to the Japanese bombers in my new game, Cactus Air Force Pilot. We're going to skip the pilot creation and flight school process and get right to the contact phase. An incoming raid has been spotted by coast watchers near Bougainville Island. My flight will just be myself today, no wingman. Takes off from Henderson Field in my trusty P-38 Lightning. Since the P-38 has a longer range than the Wildcats, I will take off now and try and intercept the raid further away from Henderson. I move the fuel marker to takeoff. I stay in the takeoff hex as I climb to low altitude. The raid moves one hex closer, and I also move one hex up the slot and expend another fuel. I check for random events. A 3 equals no event. The raid continues on course. I expend another fuel point and climb to medium altitude, staying in the same hex. The raid moves closer, but we stay put and climb to high altitude, expending another fuel point. The raid continues down the slot, and I also move one hex up. I expend another fuel and roll for random event. A 6 indicates that a random event has occurred. We pull the first card from the deck. Your engines have just been overhauled. You automatically get the bounce on the next 0 you encounter. We set that aside for now. The raid moves closer, and I stay here and will try to contact. We roll a 6, which equals contact. We now roll on the force composition table. An 18 equals 2 Bettys armed with torpedoes escorted by 1-0, all of them at low altitude. Since we are at high altitude, there can be no combat this turn. The raid continues another hex towards the target, and we wheel around to follow. We drop down to medium altitude and expend another fuel point. We do a random event check. 5 equals no event. We already established contact, so now we check if combat occurs with the escorting 0. Let me interrupt for a moment by asking you to join the 6 Actual platoon by subscribing and clicking like if you found this video helpful. We automatically have the bounce due to the random event, so we check the fighter combat table, taking all the modifiers into consideration. I am obviously a honcho pilot, so I get a +2 modifier. We add our speed, maneuverability, firepower, all of that is 55, plus the result of a 1d10. We roll a 10, and then our +2 gives us a 67. The same stats for the 0 equals 61. The difference is 5 or more, so we get to go to the fighter damage table. Our firepower is greater than 20, so we roll twice. 14 equals starboard wing, and 24 equals fuel hit. 0 goes down in flames. We expend 1 ammo point, and the 0 will get a chance to return fire. We check the fighter combat table for the 0 returning fire. He rolls a 65 total, and we roll a 57 total. The damage is 5 or more, so we see if the 0 hits us on the damage table. His firepower is greater than 20, so he rolls twice. 46 is a miss, and 33 is an airframe. Nothing significant. We now move on to bomber combat. The Betty stats only equal 29 points, so even if he rolls a 10, that automatically gives me more than +5. So we can skip the roll and go right to the bomber damage table. We roll twice and get a 54 airframe and 53 a pilot wounded hit. And we expend 1 ammo. We check to see if the Betty returns fire and roll a 2 equals no hit. Second round of bomber combat with rolls of 61, fuel tank, Betty destroyed. And we expend 1 ammo. We check to see if the Betty returns fire, and a roll of 3 equals no hit. For the third and final round of bomber combat for this turn, we move on to the remaining Betty and roll a 12, which is Bombay hit, and a 66, tail hit. The Bombay hit requires a roll on a 1d6 with a 6 equaling aircraft destroyed. We roll a 6 and the last bomber explodes. Since combat is simultaneous, we check to see if the Betty hits us before exploding. He rolls a 5, which is 1 hit. We roll once on the fighter damage table. A 45 is port wing. Again, nothing significant. The entire raid has been destroyed for only slight damage to our P-38. We return to Henderson and land to the cheers of our fellow pilots and ground crews. And that's an example of fighting your way through escorts to get to the bombers in Cactus Air Force Pilot. Thanks for watching.